Hey guys, how the hell are you? Time for an all-new unbiased gear review on this, the Dirty Tree Boost from Pepers Pedals. So this is a much talked about, much discussed pedal on online guitar forums and gear forums these days. So I'm very excited to finally get my hands on one and actually try it out for you guys. You might notice it does have a little bit of a familiar layout to those of us that know of the TC Electronics integrated preamp. This is definitely something that is sort of kind of based on that. You've got your level control, highs and lows. You've got heavy duty switch, heavy duty enclosure. You also have this little mini switch here that switches between DT, which what that is something that disengages the tone stack that's in here and uses carefully selected caps to sort of emulate a kind of perfect setting, or at least kind of a sweet spot that Tony has found with integrated preamps. So that's what DT mode is. It's meant to sort of capture lightning in a bottle with just the flick of a switch. But if you would prefer still being able to manipulate the highs and lows to your liking, flip it over to TC mode and it re-engages the highs and the lows so you can play with them to your heart's desire. But enough of that, let's go right into the tone demo so you guys can see how this performs in a variety of settings. So for the purposes of this tone demo, I'm going to be utilizing two different instruments to give you an idea of what this sounds like in a normal modern metal setting, as well as with something a little bit more extended range. So firstly, using the Solar S1.6 Pubba, which is loaded with Duncan's Solar pickups. I really like these pickups, one of my favorite modern metal sets. They just accentuate all the right frequencies in my opinion, so this is definitely going to be an awesome instrument to run through this rig. But also we're going to be using my Reichardt 8-string X-Shape, which is loaded with Elysians. So this is far and away my go-to 8-string right now, not just for looks and playability, but also for sound. So there again, it kind of sounds awesome through everything. So it's the perfect 8-string to run through this rig as well. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to run the pedal into a relatively cleaner tone right now. It's going into the Dover DA50, which is set for a very low gain, very clean setting, so that you guys can hear what this pedal sounds like on its own before we even consider running it in front of an already high gain and distorted amp. The switch is set to DT, so remember the high and low knobs are not engaged at this point. It's just the level control, just so you can hear that sort of sweet spot that the Dirty Tree is supposed to have when it's set like that. So first of all, clean sound. just do a coil split here real quick. Sounds kind of cool. All right, so all the way dimed. Adding a little bit more gain on there, but also kind of just adding a little teeny amount of girth on there. Now let's go ahead and flip it to TC mode. Immediately that EQ section is engaged, a lot more lows, a little bit more highs too. Sounds really cool. All right, enough of that. Let's throw it in front of the Mesa. Set all the knobs back to high noon, see what this thing does. Also, the DT switch is back to being on DT mode. Remember, the EQ is not engaged, just the level control. What the Mesa sounds like without the pedal. Flip it to TC. A lot more low end. Let's dial that back. Pretty damn gnarly. Okay, let's go ahead and once again set all the switches back, set all the knobs back to noon. We are going to now run it in front of a Marshall valve state. This is the tone without it. Ooh, I'm loving that. So remember, DT switch is engaged. This is supposedly that EQ sweet spot, and so far I tend to agree. Turn that level all the way up, got the DT switch engaged, and this is kind of magic. Let's flip it to TC. Okay, switching over to something a little bit more extended range. This is the Ricard 8-string, so you guys can hear what this does with this. Once again, this is the sound just going straight into the Mesa Boogie. Got a bit of clank going on in there. Let's dial that back just a little bit. Dial in just a little bit low end just to see. And now in front of the Marshall valve state with the right card 8 string by itself. That's nasty. I like it. Let's bring this back down to TC. So overall, my final thought is that this pedal is something that, how best to describe it? I didn't know I needed it. Like looking at my pedal arsenal, all the various boosts and overdrives that I have to run in front of my already high gain heads, I didn't realize just how different this sort of tone is versus a normal Tube Screamer or SD1 or anything like that. So this is kind of capturing something different for me, which I like. You're getting a bit more of a transparent top end. Flip that switch over and you get something that disengages anything that could add some shrillness or some mud, but flip it back over and yeah, it's kind of easy to add a little bit of mud and shrill top end, but it's also super easy to dial it back too. And especially if you're finding that the DT mode is just maybe lacking or a little too much of something, depending on which guitar you're playing, depending on which amp you're running it into. Just nice to have that option to dial things back, dial things in just a little bit. I can't really pick a favorite amp that it performed in front of. In addition to the Mesa and the Marshall valve state, I also ran this thing in through the Dover DA50, in through my Marshall JCM 900, into the Rev generator, and it performed admirably on all. With regards to various guitars that I owned, there again, kind of performed awesome with everything I ran it into. A variety of different applications, different instruments, different amps. It shines. So would I say it's a jack of all trades? Pretty damn close. And yeah, I don't really feel like this is something that I can part with at the moment because I'm just having too much damn fun with it. But Arnold, what are you drinking today? I am so glad that you asked. Today, I am having the 2022 edition of Pumpkinator Imperial Pumpkin Stout from St. Arnold Brewing. This is one of those hallowed bottles around these parts, and this is something that inspires a little bit of fervor every single year. Do I think that it's one of those amazing bottles worth chasing after? Not necessarily. Do I think it's a damn good $8 bomber? Yes, I really do. I think it's a substantially good quality beer. Let's see how this year's version stacks up. Bit of that spiciness coming through right away in the aroma. A little darker, a little nuttier, and with a little bit more of a maybe grainy kind of note compared to last year. Definitely a bit roastier compared to last year's version too. Last year I seem to recall this beer having a lot more of an in-your-face pumpkin characteristic. This honestly is a lot more reminiscent of just a killer roasty stout with just a hint of sort of like that fall season kind of spiciness that permeates every other beverage out there. It's not bad at all. Look for a more in-depth review on the Arnold Drinks YouTube channel. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel. Tons more of this content to come. And as always, remember, take what you do seriously, but do not take yourselves too seriously.